Oh, cool.
Hello, welcome. Kia ora, everyone. It is Wednesday, 22nd of October, 2025, and I offered to run through my experience of the International Biodynamic Research Conference in the UK. Thank you, everyone, for coming along. And this will be a race, but you can go back and read it slowly. So I grew up in a family where there was a family business, and I used to go on buying trips. And when I came back, we had to bring back what we'd seen, what we'd learned, and implement it. And I always feel like that's missing when people go off overseas. It's like, what did they learn? What did they see? Who did they meet? So that was my intention, just to kind of bring a little bit of the sort of personal perspective to you all. And my hope is that you'll grab the links that are relevant to your work and go chase down those people, meet them, tell them I told them to go find their work, and let's get some of these people over to Aotearoa New Zealand. So my research, the Floral Compost Activator, was well received. It was such a relief. And I'll share links down the bottom for anyone who'd like to learn more about that. Huge thank you, like again and again and again, for the crowdfunding that helped me get there. I think I had 55 Blue Borage customers and followers, support from $500, no, from $5 up to like 500, 600, and we raised just over $6,000 in a few months. I couldn't have done that on my own. For more sponsorship, I do like to say thank you to Carbon Cycle Compost and Dr. Leanne Mackey with her research project on soil sovereignty based at University of Auckland. So 4 days at the Royal Agriculture University in Cirencester. It's the oldest agricultural college in the English-speaking world. So 1845, just big, tall buildings, real sort of Hogwarts vibe. It was the end of summer. The blackberries were sort of dry, but it had just rained as the sort of day before we got there. And so they were plump, and just foraging blackberries to add to my breakfast was delicious. Farm tours on the last day. We had 185 people from 22 countries, dozens and dozens of talks, posters, presentations. I think most of the people there were presenting in some capacity, but it was scheduled in parallel streams. So looking at the program, just so many difficult decisions. I want to go to this and that, and I can only be in one place. Which do I choose? So if you sort of say, well, how could you have missed that? Then it was, yeah, difficult. So I've made really good contact with probably 24 of the people presenting, another dozen or so who were attending but not presenting. And so a lot of my work now is trying to develop these relationships, pull the threads together, find who else needs to see what they're doing. So off we go. And I think there's something for everyone in here. So other sponsors of the conference, apart from the RAU, were the Biodynamic Association of UK, the BFDI, Biodynamic Federation Demeter International, the Forschungsring, which is the research arm, and then the section for agriculture at the Goetheanum. Lots of medical people there. It was really cool. So top of the list here is this brand new network, the Biodynamic Research Network. It's free to join. You can download the conference papers. So that's the proceedings there, 12 megabytes. There's been 23 downloads. Or they're listed alphabetically by surname. So I would love to see more people from New Zealand hop on board. I've been in contact with the organizers of this network saying, can I help you market it? This is amazing. We need more of this. So yeah, if you want to do a sneaky, click on that link and go create your account while we're talking, then that's totally fine with me. Otherwise, we're whizzing through, and I've sort of highlighted in yellow the key spots that I want to talk to. So I arrived on the Sunday, got a tour of the campus. Jonathan Code was our host. He's someone that I would love to get to New Zealand. He spent some time in New Zealand. He did permaculture here, and I think his first experience of the biodynamic compost preparations was here in New Zealand. So he has a fondness for Aotearoa, and he's keen to come over. So I'm having a meeting with him on Saturday morning to sort of brainstorm how we could make that happen. Craig Leon of Cloud Forest Organics. He's someone that I met online before the conference. We recorded a conversation on my YouTube channel, and he's got this amazing documentary of the regeneration project in the cloud forest in Ecuador. So rainforests are down lower, the cloud forests are higher up in the clouds, and it's just remarkable work that so heart-centered and instills hope for real regeneration of that whole continent, really. So his documentary is being shown at film festivals around the world. So if you watch the trailer and listen to him and I talk about his work, if you think that you want to host his movie, I think he can send you the link to watch it yourself and then know who you want to bring and where you want to do that. But really good thing to support there. So I went straight up to Uli Herter on the Sunday evening welcome reception, told him about my work, said I wanted some help from the global research community to keep it growing and building. And he came to the workshop, which was just so lovely to have, you know, the co-leader of the section for agriculture actually come and check it out. So massive thank you to Murray Cook and Bridget Henderson on the council for preparing a letter of endorsement that I was able to give to Uli Herter and again to Jonathan Code at the RAU to say the Biodynamic Association of New Zealand really supports what Katrina is doing with this work. So photos there of the campus, just yeah, beautiful. There was one morning I was too early for breakfast. The dining room was closed, but the cathedral that was open, and they were hosting the first Wednesday morning church service in the style of the Book of Common Prayer from the 1600s, and they welcomed me and come and join us. And I would have sat through anything just to be in that space with that beautiful stained glass window. There's Jonathan there. Chris Park, the Druid, entertained us, and I was just falling asleep. You can imagine the jet lag and the stress. I'm presenting the next day. Just phenomenal. Keynote speaker on Monday morning was Julia Wright. She's very well known for her book on subtle agroecologies. So the key thing I got from her talk was that biodynamics is special and we need to hold on to what's special about it. We don't want to necessarily be mainstream. And she was really fascinating how the criticism of biodynamics being a pseudoscience, she picked apart what that means and ended up saying, you know, mainstream science are the ones who are lying. Like they're the pseudoscience. We're actually studying what's real. And encouraged everyone in the room to consider that while we're unique, we're not alone, we need allies. And she had this chart with all these other complementary fields that are natural colleagues. And I know a lot of my work fits in that periphery, things like the nature communication, human design, sound healing, ancestral lineage healing. So yeah, let's form allyships with these other fields. And so my favorite quote from Julia: to what extent do we wish to comply with a bankrupt, outdated scientific establishment at the expense of integrity and authenticity? Like, let's just be ourselves and do what we know the world needs. Next up was Benita Shah. Just so often we heard Peter Proctor and Rachel Pomeroy just praised for the work that they've done around the world for decades. So there are 100,000 farmers in India, 1 million units of compost. And she said actually it's probably more like 1.5 million now. So Bonita Shah is part of SAG India, probably well known to a lot of people who've been following Peter and Rachel's work in Asia. This chap here is Simon Reeks. I see Leanne Mackey just joined the room. Welcome. So I really wanted to get to Simon Reeks's talk on spirit of place. It ties in with what Leanne is doing with her soil sovereignty research. And Leanne, drop links in the chat if you like. So he brought these two main speakers, Veko and Brooke, with their approach to what is it? Place theory. And then he said for biodynamics, there's another dimension we need to bring in. It's a supra-tangible, accessible through expanded consciousness. And I love what he said about how the very concept of farm organism will always be off the chart until we have a framework that includes it. So let's make sure the framework includes us, because the limited conceptual framework will result in a limited view and we'll always be woo. I'm not sure how I feel about his recommendation to not use the word spiritual, not use the term extrasensory, but go with suprasensory instead. Still kind of sitting on that. But that, once again, it's the other allies, the blurry edges that go where things haven't been researched and look at what's going on there. So Simon's paper is on that biodynamic network. There's the link there, but if you go up to the main link, you can find so many different pieces of research. This next one, Manuela de la Chapelle, I included this for the wine growers. She is in France, Colombian, and she had this very simple questionnaire about biodynamics she took to, it wasn't a huge group of people in the wine sector, but it was large enough to get a good sample. And she put the text through like AI text analysis and got these 4 distinct groups of people. And the way she's analyzed them is just, I think it's such a clever use of technology to analyze text. So group 1 were the people who were gung-ho, die-hard, love biodynamics, will always use it. Second group were the skeptics, and in France, biodynamics is going through a challenging time at the moment. So it's really interesting to sort of pick that apart and see what those people are saying about what makes biodynamics problematic or risky. All sorts of language there. I mean, is it a shame that it's in French? No, I think it's more interesting. And I dropped those in, sort of assuming that our wine growers are familiar with a little bit of French, being that it's so dominant. Groups 3 and 4, she pulled apart with this subtle difference of, I think group 3 were interested in biodynamics for the sake of the terroir, for the soil. And group 4, it was for the wine, for the outcome. And the language they each use is just fascinating. And like, I wonder if there's something in here, Jane, that's relevant for marketing and how we talk about biodynamics and who we're talking to and what we say and what they need to hear. Here's the group photo with everyone. And then it was my presentation, 12 people. I got feedback sheets from 10 people. So I've got those 10 people's email addresses, 6 different countries. Amazing feedback. I loved having all the flowers on the table, but it was such a logistical challenge. The little bottles were sent from a customer on the east side of England. The buckets were picked in Wales by another one of my followers who was driving to the conference. Then I went around the campus. I was sort of scavenging for jars. I think there are single-use coffee cup stirrers that were dabbed into honey. It was fun. So this chap here is Vivian Griffiths. He's a historian, and so he and I are having a lovely email exchange about what we need to look at to flesh out the story and take Maye Bruce's work into the sort of next iteration. So I said there were parallel streams. There was a session on water, like the most popular water researchers on at the same time. So these two came and found me the next morning, and because they'd missed out, so I had leftover flowers. We just kept kind of rolling with it. Then a festive dinner. This was a sort of formal dining hall, and just the walls covered with names and dates of these students going back, 1845. It's 180 years ago. First thing each day was sensing the landscape, sort of meditation observation exercises with Eduardo Rincon and Jean-Michel Florin. And these are people that I've only seen on Zoom before, and like just getting to chat with them and observe the formation of the dandelion and compare our observations. It was just the best thing ever. I think we should, as an association, I think we should try and send someone different to each conference, just so more people get to go and meet that community in person. Next big name, David Martin is a doctor. He's highly active in the medical section. And his presentation just was like boom, 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 all these really important topics that overlap with agriculture and food. So particularly interesting for me is the effects of pesticide on child development. And he made this point about how, yes, we need ecotherapy and to get people outside, but the fact is that farms are harmful to children if we keep using all these chemicals. So there's this real need to bring awareness of the harms of the pesticides, get the chemicals out, and make farms safe for humans again. There's also some really fascinating research on digitalization in childhood, and I've never seen anyone talk like this about the effect of parents' screen time around their children. And I learned a new word, fubbing, when a parent is looking at their phone and a child is trying to get their attention. That interaction, I'm not sure if the parent is fubbing the child or the child is fubbing the parent, but one of the effects of digitalization that they have measured is the decrease in a sense of joy at seeing another human being. That when you ponder that and what that means for child development, it's frightening. So another thing David Martin's been doing, I think for 5 years, is a global study group on the philosophy of freedom. And it's genius the way they do it. They've split each chapter into these little cards, like what is that, A6? And there's 15 to 20 phrases, and they promise that if you study the cards 15 minutes a day, one chapter a week, some of the chapters are split up, that over the course of 7 months, you can study the whole book in depth. And so I'm like, I'm going to give this a go. So I've signed up. I've got a buddy in New Zealand. I've got a regional group, Australasia, and there are monthly webinars. And they've grown from, I think, 5 people in the first year. They're up to like 700 people this year. It just keeps growing and growing and growing. The languages keep expanding. It's very, very cool. There's a website here. So they open it up each year in September. This website is one of my regional group buddies in Adelaide has created a similar structure so that if you want to try the method, you can use that. It's only English and German, I think. Okay, what else? Quote from David Martin. It's not much fun, but don't form community with like-minded people. It's the people we wrestle with that we need to work with. And I think in the context of what we're looking at with the gene technology bill. How about we go find the people that are supporting it and eat some good organic food with them and find those bridges and be in community with that wrestle. There's a link to David Martin's profile, just amazing. Eckhart and his partner Tanya, these are the people that have been studying eurythmy in agriculture for 25 years. She's written a book. I went and joined them for breakfast. I had to see the book, had to sort of be close with the eurythmy. Beautiful, beautiful people. Stunning research. We went on a tour of Ruskin Mill and I kind of tracked her down. I was like, can I ask you a question? So with my research on the Floral Compost Activator, there's one batch where I wanted to know, or I wanted to feel what the yarrow did that was different to the chamomile, the dandelion, the valerian, the stinging nettle, the oakbark. And I've got these 6 bags of compost that have each had only one herb. And when I feel the compost, there's a different quality, but I don't know what that is. I need to get a microscope or something. But I've said, could it be that they're like notes of a musical scale? Could it be like they're each a planetary influence? And we were looking at the eurythmy gestures of them and did they correspond? Yeah. So over the next day or two, I'll come into this blog post and add her email address. She's open to people contacting her from New Zealand and would love for some of us to do this research here, like replicate the movements, the sounds, the gestures, and see if we get similar results. Okay, this next piece of research, I probably wouldn't have gone to see this, but I think it must have been straight after the eurythmy. So I was in the hall and just stayed in my chair. Cucumbers, when you slice them, if you stick them back together, the cuts will heal. And so this lady, I don't know how to say, Marjolaine, maybe, she got 800 cucumbers over 3 different research sites, split between conventionally grown, organic, biodynamic, everything, just meticulous detail in this research. So they've been coded, measured, sliced, wrapped, stored, and then they wait for 2 weeks. So they're stored in temperature controlled environment, and then they analyze the appearance, and the ones that have held together, they set up this contraption where they grip the cucumber and then hang a weight and then add weights until that cut that's healed breaks. And just phenomenal to hear that these cut sections of the cucumber can hold up to 8 kilos. Okay. Yeah. So she showed that the biodynamic cucumbers, the healed sections on overall are stronger. So there's something there with the vitality, the skin healing capacity. And the guy on her research team, or she's on his research team, he won some sort of award in the medical conference the week after the research conference. So it's big news. Okay, Alex Edelson is another name that I would love for us here in New Zealand to bring over, to get to know, to work together with. He's on the organizing committee, I think, for the Asian Biodynamic Conference. So within the global biodynamic movement, we're in the Asia Pacific region, that Alex would be a logical person for us to be networking with. The conference is, when is it? 6th to 9th of November. So it would be feasible for us to send someone to the Himalayas to network with the Asian biodynamic community. I'm not putting my name forward, but I think we should be in that network. Alex is also hosting this series on establishing biodynamic seed enterprise. So I heard about this at the BFDI members assembly, and this series is a direct response to the threat of genetic engineering and saying, well, our growers are going to need biodynamic seeds. We need seed producers. We need seed production to be better supported by the biodynamic movement. So I signed up. Well, I signed up after I talked to him at the conference. So I missed the first session. I went to the second session. I missed the third session last week. There's one more session in November. So I'll share back what comes out of that. The poster presentations, dozens. They're just packed into a room. So many people talking at once. I didn't get photos. I couldn't actually get photos without people being right in front of them. But phenomenal research there. One of the ones I particularly liked was from an English wool producer who is Demeter certified and is working with the charity Dirt to sort of grow a biodynamic fiber sector so that the fashion industry can support the biodynamic movement. And I don't have the Oxford literature review from Arizona Muse yet. There must have been a bit of a delay with that, but it's staggering the amount of agricultural land use that is needed for fashion and fiber. It's huge, really huge. Okay, we had an outing to Ruskin Mill, which was beautiful. Talk with Angus Gordon. Highly recommend looking him up on YouTube. He's got some fascinating lectures that have been recorded you can watch. And I think for me, the thing I took away from that, having worked at Hohepa for 6 years and now studying raranga, Māori weaving, is curiosity about raranga, the weaving, as a therapeutic exercise for all sorts of people. And so I'm kind of, I don't know, how do I do a PhD with the folks at Ruskin Mill? How do we look after the harakeke plants in the UK? So on to Wednesday, another person who is now keynote speaker at this international conference who started off with Peter Proctor and Rachel Pomeroy. I've got an image on my phone of her with Peter and Rachel, and it's just so special to sit there and know that New Zealand Biodynamics was part of that. Okay, Cyril, I've got a long sort of list of quotes and reading list from him, but his thing was that transdisciplinarity is the new thing. Like we just need to work with different fields and pool our wisdom, pool our perspectives. And he called it epistemological activism, which I think is my new phrase. Epistemology, the philosophical study of the nature, origin, and limits of human knowledge. So let's be epistemological activists. Going on, the waterwork. Ian Trousdale mentioned, it's like world famous, as is Vida Austin. And there was this cool exercise, the shape of the ear. There's like, if you put your finger into your ear and then you follow the sort of channel that goes up and then it changes direction and then goes up and around. They were saying like the shape of our ear is similar to how water moves in nature and these sort of vortices that form, and that our ears are designed that way so that we can hear, that to look for these curves in nature. More, I'm going to whiz through. This was important. Claudia Scher. Homeopathy in agriculture. So this was phenomenal research. They had thousands and thousands of papers that they were searching to find, okay, that's all the homeopathy. Well, how much of it is related to agriculture? How much of it's actual like scientific studies? and then they analyzed it. I'll add some images in here, but it's she was basically saying that the homeopathy research is getting better and better and better. The quality is such that, like, compared to what was being done 20, 30 years ago, this is now like real science. It's real evidence, and there's so much more of it. The quantity is increasing. Interesting to see that tomatoes are the most researched crop for homeopathy in agriculture, and that the countries Brazil, India, and Mexico are producing the most research. Evening we had choir where we were told to sit in the middle of the hall, and the chairs had all been kind of arranged haphazardly, and then the choir was around the outside of the hall singing into us, and they said just sit and take it like a sound bath, which it was. So, final day, the farm tour. I chose to go to Highgrove, and we got to Highgrove, and the security turned us away. We were not booked in for Highgrove, but they escorted us down the road to the Duchy Home Farm, which is a dairy farm owned by King Charles. The milk is supplied to, oh, not mild, the milk is sold into Waitrose supermarkets. So we got a big tour. They're growing maize and sunflowers and pumpkins. They have community events. The cows were beautiful. Sorry to any dairy farmers. I probably could have taken a better photo of the machinery and the gadgets and everything that was used there. The cows had these really clever sensors that the farmer was saying they can see every detail of the cow's physiology, like each individual cow. And so I, when it was sort of time to ask questions, I said, is there anything that those sensors can't measure? Like, is there anything that only a human can do in a dairy farm? And I loved his answer that the farmers still pay attention to what order the animals come to the milking shed. And when that order changes, they're like, oh, what's up with Daisy? Or, that's an indication that the sensors aren't yet measuring. At the Duchy Home Farm, I was wanting to get a sense of the, I don't know how to put this, tune into the energy of the royal family and their relationship to the land. And here in Aotearoa, our relationship to the royal family as members of the Commonwealth, and the political situation that's in New Zealand at the moment, and just is there any way I can help? And I was wanting to talk to the compost. I didn't see, like, they had huge piles of like the effluent, I think, in a big container, but otherwise there wasn't soil to hold and talk to. So I was there in front of the cows, and they were licking my hands, and I ended up singing to them. And it's a sort of a theme song that's sitting with me as I look at the political situation in New Zealand at the moment. And so they got Te Aroha, Te Whakapono, Me Te Rangi Marie, Tato Tato e. And they were coming towards me, and they were like almost appreciating the music. And so I sang it over and over again, and it was kind of just quietly away from the group, and then wandered back to the group, and the cows were following me. When we got back to the university, there was a lady in the group who wanted to know what I'd been singing. And so I told her, and I had my Jupiter tuning fork, and then she pulled out her tuning forks of the same brand. So if you're into sound healing, the sun frequency is the next one on my wish list, and ringing it and listening to it, it was like warm golden honey. That's what I want for my seedlings. So she had this tool here. Gosh, I don't have the name of it. It's a gong. It's got a special name, and the loops hang around your ears, and then it hang down, and the metal circle is supposed to sort of be at heart level, and then with the mallet you tap it and it rings through the strings around your ears and through your heart, and it's different tones at different frequencies. Yeah, so there were other sound healers there at the conference, and I think I'm nearly at time. So after the conference, I went over to Wadhurst, which is a couple of hours on the train, and got to meet my cousins. This is Sophie and Michael. Never met them before in my life. They're both professional gardeners. Sophie joked that she's always called herself the queen of compost. And when she heard that I was a compost consultant, it was like, what? And Mike's also just obsessed with beautiful composting. So I got to make my Floral Compost Activator at both of their houses. We harvested harakeke at Uncle Gerald and Aunt Rosalie's house, and I taught them to weave. We had a big family dinner, and it was just like feeling so at home. It's a highlight for sure. So wrapping up is I need to keep on with the Floral Compost Activator research. I've got warm leads out in different parts of the world, different people that want to be in, but we're just kind of trying to work out how to make it happen. Waiting on a funding application from another organization in Europe. So in the meantime, Kate in Canada and I are just kind of carrying on. We've got the download on my Ko-fi shop. That's a $5 download. Try it. Test it in your own space. Send me your observations. I got a lovely email from a wine grower in South Dakota, America, over the weekend. Come to a lunchtime learning webinar. I've got those up on Humanitics, and then invitation to become a research site. Try the method. I didn't make time to demonstrate it tonight. I could if we don't have questions, but basically we're using the same 6 herbs as the biodynamic compost preparations, but with just water, honey, and make a ferment. That's one I've made with other fresh flowers, and then that gets diluted, added to compost, and I'm seeing remarkable results. Different to the compost preparations, but still really effective. So it's on Substack, and I do in-person workshops, online webinars, consultations, and then still fundraising. Fundraising continues. So 7:40, I got through. So I'm gonna open the chat. Let's see if there's any questions. And I think I will stop sharing and maybe stop the recording at that point. Thank you